Hey everybody, Foley here. It's time for the weekly news recap to... shit. 19th, I think? Fuck, why do I keep forgetting this? 19th, 25th of June, 2023. Okay, so... this week Nintendo had a Nintendo Direct where they were showing off basically what's to come for the rest of 2023 and a little sneaky peek what's coming in 2024. So, to kick them off, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are getting new DLC. The Hidden Treasures of Area Zero, which combines two DLCs, the Teal Mask and then something about the Indigo Mask. I have not been following anything about that. I guess you guys might know something about that more than I will. One of them seems to take place in a festival area, and another one's like more of a modern / futuristic camp thing, I guess. Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope also getting some DLC, possibly its last before it's done. The game is also getting a demo soon. Detective Pikachu. So Detective Pikachu is getting a sequel. Detective Pikachu Returns. The Detective Pikachu games, you might recall, or might not recall, even though they are technically Pokemon games, they're not really... they're more games using the Pokemon license rather than being actually Pokemon games. You, along with Pikachu, who is a kind of surly... like, film noir detective type, you know, drinks coffee, stays up late, that kind of thing. Trying to solve mysteries and shenanigans and that kind of thing. The original game was pretty fun, and this one, hopefully no longer being locked to DS and what have you. It's not a remake or a remaster or anything like that. It is a brand new Detective Pikachu game. So if you like the films and never got around to playing the DS game, maybe you might enjoy it. I still can't really get used to Pikachu's voice. It doesn't really fit. Plus, I'm still used to the meme where they dubbed Danny DeVito in, and it just sounded so much funnier. But anyway, that's that. After that, they showed off a game called Myth Force, which is also currently going on the Steam Next Fest. So there's a demo for that if you want to play it right now. I believe it's a multiplayer-only demo. Myth Force is a cooperative roguelike first-person thing. It is done in the art style of like some of the older late 80s, early 90s Saturday morning cartoons. So think G.I. Joe, Mask, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that kind of thing. That kind of art style. Or the old Dungeons & Dragons cartoon, I guess. It's very similar. Splatfest. Do you like vanilla ice cream, strawberry ice cream, or mint chocolate chip? Don't care. Butterscotch, that's not there, so oh well. Manic Mechanics was shown off. It is pretty much Overcooked, but mechanics instead of chefs. Same deal, same idea. Dragon Quest Monsters, The Dark Prince. So Dragon Quest Monsters is effectively Pokemon, but Dragon Quest IP. Same kind of deal. In this game, you are playing the Dark Prince, some sort of demon prince who's trying to overthrow the current demon king, but you are cursed so that you can no longer physically harm any demons. So to get around that loophole, you're instead going to recruit demons to do it for you. So that's the idea behind Dragon Quest Monsters, is you instead recruit the monsters, build up a strong team, and use them to do your bidding. But it works, or plays rather, effectively the exact same as Pokemon. More or less. Capturing monsters, throwing out a team, the old familiar Dragon Quest style of turn-based combat, using the Dragon Quest monsters, and what have you. Anyway, Dragon Quest Monsters Dark Prince, no, I don't think it has a release date. Never mind, it does. 1st of December 2023. Gloomhaven is getting a port. The trailer they showed, it looked really bad. Chugged like shit. Looked like it was 15 frames per second. So maybe if you really want to play Gloomhaven, well, one, play the actual board game Gloomhaven. But if you can't do that because holy shit is that expensive, you play it on PC. Or at the very least PlayStation or Xbox. So don't play it on Switch. Do yourself a favor. Don't play it on Switch. Silent Hope is a new JRPG shown off. The kind of gist of Silent Hope is the main antagonist of the game has robbed people of their voice No, sorry. Is rob people of their words. Specifically their words, because they can still make, you know, anime noises. You know, like, huh, etc. and so on. It looks like it is a 7-character dungeon crawler, roguelike type thing. You delve into dungeons, you can play as up to these 7 different characters, they all have their own different abilities, and you collect materials, work your way down through the dungeons, and I guess eventually recover your words? In between dungeon crawling, you can do like farming, slice of life stuff, improve your weapons, get to know your people. This is kind of interesting. Hang on. Let's just stop at the cow, because this might seem like a really dumb thing to stop on. Okay, so the cow. The cow design is Story of Seasons. Like, identical. Which makes me think this is a Story of Seasons game. Which would kind of make sense, because the farming, animal husbandry, slice of life stuff is very much Story of Seasons. That's kind of their thing. They're like almost the progenitors of it. Story of Seasons used to be called something else. It's a really well-known series that Stardew Valley took a lot of inspiration from, and I, for the life of me, cannot remember what it is. But they have lost the IP name, and that series is not very good anymore. Mostly because the people who own it are just milking it. Lol, it's a cow. They changed the name and they continued under a different series name, but it is effectively that series. Anyway, I just thought I'd point it out, because at least the slice of life stuff will probably be decent, because they're pretty good at that kind of thing. Speaking of, there is a new Story of Seasons game out this week, which is actually a remake of the original game. And it's pretty good. Anyway. Although I don't think I have it in my new... No, it's not out this week. It's next week. That's why. I was wondering, why don't I have it in my new releases if it's out this week? Now I know why. Anyway. Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 1 is coming to Switch as well, so that kind of confirms it's coming to pretty much everything now. It's still interesting that it's called Volume 1. What's in Volume 2? There's not a whole lot left. There's kind of hope that it's Metal Gear Solid 4, because right now you need a PS3 to play it, and there's no other way to play it. Yeah, I suppose you could stream it, but still. So hopefully it's that. You know, to kind of liberate it from its prison that is the PlayStation 3 exclusivity. Otherwise it'd be MGS5, I guess. Phantom Pain, maybe Ground Zeroes. It's possible they'll add the PSP games, Metal Gear Acid. But no, it's all speculation. We have no idea. Volume 1 is going to be Metal Gear Solids 1, 2, and 3, plus the original Metal Gear 1 and 2. Mario Kart 8 is getting more DLC. It's the next wave. Diggler and Piranha Pete have been added. And then kind of out of nowhere, they just said, hey, remember how you've all been asking for more Super Mario RPG? Well, I mean, it's not new, exactly, but why don't we just remake the original? So that's what they did. So the original Super Mario RPG is getting a remake. Looks pretty good. I'm liking the art direction. I'm liking the kind of changes they've made to some of the character models to make it kind of fit more in this isometric view. Super Mario RPG very much passed me by. I did not get to play it. I suppose I could always go back and play it now. It's probably emulatable fairly easily, but I might as well just wait for the new one now. Story, I have no idea, but it is a turn-based JRPG, kind of like Final Fantasy. I'm pretty sure it was made by Squaresoft at the time, before they became Square Enix, right in the middle of them making various other Final Fantasy games. Bowser joins your team. Who knows why? I'm sure Bowser doesn't even know why, but what have you. From people who have played it, they really liked it, so I would imagine I probably would too. But I might as well just wait for the remake at this point. Releasing, I think, later this year. There's been much memery has been made from this specific shot right here. This one, hang on, this one, because it looks like Mario is just like, me want uppies, please pick me up. Anyway, It's just kind of weirdness because he's so short in this particular direction. So November, middle of November this year, Super Mario RPG Remake. And we'll have Super Mario Wonder. So Super Mario Bros. Wonder is the next 2D, 2.5D Mario. You may know the previous one was just called what was it? New Super Mario Brothers or something like that. So Super Mario Bros. Wonder is their next 2D style one. What's kind of interesting here, so the Wonder naming kind of goes into this idea that the game, when you pick up Wonder flowers, weird shit starts happening, or wonderful shit if you prefer. Not only that, the flowers seem to talk now, and I don't know how much of it is randomized, how much of it is scripted. Like, they do seem to be commenting on what you're doing, which is kind of interesting. You don't see too much of it in the trailer, but there's one or two bouts where they actually say some stuff to you. Anyway, if you pick up a Wonder Flower, which they do here, you'll see, like, this new mechanic where just random things are going to happen. You don't really know. Could be anything. Who knows? In this case, the pipes go all over the place. There's another one where the pipes shrink and increase in size. There, like that. Yeah, who knows? Who knows how it's going? It's also interesting that they're going for more of a stylized 2D thing. So you'll notice Mario isn't exactly in profile view. You can kind of see both of his eyes all the time. When he runs, his hat kind of like breezes back and stuff like that. So it's not going fully, you know, 2D gaming, but 3D character models. They're very much taking a different stance, I guess, for the characters. 4-player, I think it's Daisy, Toad, Mario, Luigi, Peach, as usual. Diggler is not Wiggler is not a playable character, despite what it might look like there, and so on. Anyway, I'm kind of waiting until we get to the weird bit that I'm sure a lot of you have already seen on the internet. There's a bit where Mario picks up a new transformation, a new hat, or what have you, and he becomes... Is it here? Yeah, it's here. Large Mario. Mario Fant. Okay, anyway. That will be Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and I think is also out later this year. Whoops. Ugh. Do we have a release date for it? October this year. So this will actually be out before Super Mario Bros. RPG, and I guess you know what's coming next also. Yeah. WarioWare Move It, which will be out November 6th. So it's been a while since we've had a new WarioWare game. So the WarioWare games, for people who haven't played them, they're like a collection of really, really short micro games, as they were called at the time. I'm sure they're probably still called that. But they're very basic, and mostly it's, can you react to things very quickly? So it's like you're given a prompt, and can you figure out what you're supposed to do as fast as possible? You might have seen some of them, like there was a craze of Java games that did this sort of things. They're called like impossible games, or that kind of thing, where you'd need to respond to a prompt very, very quickly, like move or don't move and stuff like that. It would just yell, don't move at you, and you would have to not move, but everyone was like primed to be able to do stuff quickly, so they just moved straight away, and lol, you lose. That kind of thing. Anyway, the WarioWare games are very dumb, but they're also a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they're very good for like party stuff, as you might imagine. Anyway, there's another game, Bishi Bashi Special. It was on PlayStation. It's a very similar type deal, but WarioWare obviously has the whole Mario trappings around it, so it has a bit more of an appeal. Some games that were teased. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is being remastered, so that was previously a 3DS title. It's being remastered for the Switch. It's out next year at some point. Don't know when. And then Princess Peach is getting her own game. We don't know too much about it. Looks like it's going to be a 2D platformer type thing, not unlike Mario is Missing. But again, we don't know. Sometime next year. Not sure when. Pikmin 4 was shown off. It's Pikmin. and you don't have to go back to the ship at night anymore. You can just play all the way through. But nighttime brings really strong enemies, something like that. So there's incentive and there's disincentive for doing it. There's also a demo for the game available now if you want to play it. Also announced Pikmin 1 and 2 have gotten HD remasters and are available right now if you want to get them. Star Ocean, the second story, is also getting it's getting remade, rather, not a remaster. So Star Ocean, the second story, aka the only good Star Ocean. I believe it was a SNES game. It's one of the few JRPGs at the time that was real-time. Most of them at that time were turn-based, whereas Star Ocean allowed you to fight in real time, basically. It was more of an action RPG. So it's taking the HD 2D look that Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy have gone for, Bravely Default, and so on. Yeah, Star Ocean 2 is a very good game. Very, very good. And I'm really hoping the remake is also similarly very good. I never finished it, because I only rented it. And it being a JRPG, it doesn't really matter how much I played it. I was never finishing it within the rental period. Anyway, it has a lot of Tales of games going for it. The Tales of games came later, of course, but this is kind of where it started. This kind of real time. Your characters all attack more or less at the exact same time, and there's just fucking chaos. But it's great. It's really fun. Anyway, looking forward to that. Does that have a release date? I think it's October. November, never mind. Very, very beginning of November. Okay. That's Star Ocean, the second story. Or the Batman Arkham Trilogy. Arkham Origins continuing to get the shaft. Arkham Trilogy is getting a port over to the Switch. Don't. Just don't. Play it somewhere else, guys. Come on. Vampire Survivors also getting a port to Switch. Makes sense. Portable game. Or sorry, not a portable game. It's like a short burst kind of game, and the Switch is a portable console, so very much makes sense. Vampire Survivors has a great home on Steam Deck. It's like fantastic fit for that. Vampire Survivors is also getting 4-player co-op. This is gonna be fucking insane. Anyway, I believe if you have Game Pass, it's already there. If you want to try it out, it's a good game. Casual game, so don't be expecting anything particularly deep about it, but it's a fun one. And then Penny's Big Breakaway was very interesting to me. Hopefully to you as well. So Penny's Big Breakaway is the next game by the people who made Sonic Mania. Sonic Mania is largely considered one of the best Sonic games ever. Penny's Big Breakaway is from the same developer, has nothing to do with Sonic. It is a kind of isometric mascot platformer type thing where you have this somewhat sentient yo-yo who gets you in big trouble, as it says. And now you are being attacked by the Emperor's penguins, or something like that. Don't read too far into it. The point is, this yo-yo can do lots of tricks. Lots of really interesting stuff. I would encourage you to watch the trailer, because there's things for, like, swinging, running through walls, speeding up, jumping you from different places. It just seems like it's going to have a lot of really fun traversal going on in the game. So I'm really looking forward to that. Just a really not quick, but a really like almost rhythmic platformer game, because we haven't had them really since Prince of Persia, right? So Prince of Persia had this sort of flow to it. I don't know how else to necessarily explain it, but you would see various different obstacles and you would know how to beat all those obstacles. You know, if you jump, swing on the pole, rotate around vertical poles, run across walls, stuff like that. And it kind of got this sort of rhythmic feel, or it's kind of flow to it. And this kind of feels like it's going to have the same deal. So that's why I kind of am looking forward to it, but we have no release date for it. So who knows when it's coming out. Anyway, that was the Nintendo Direct. Excuse me. They did show off a bit more stuff about Sonic Superstars, Persona 5 Tactica, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2, which is kind of like Micro Machines, and a couple of other things, but they were like very fast bursts. We didn't see too much of them. Although rather interestingly, Super Mario Bros. Wonder and Sonic Superstars will be competing. They're going to be coming out roughly the same time, so we once again have a Mario versus Sonic situation. And kind of interestingly also, they've both kind of gone for the same art direction, making squat versions of their characters. Mario is quite short in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Sonic similarly has gone back to his chunky art direction for Sonic Superstars. So that will be an interesting change. It's kind of interesting that they both went with the same idea. Anyway, that wasn't the only updates this week, although a lot of them aren't particularly great. Flintlock... Flintlock has a subtitle, I forget what it is. Flintlock The Siege of Dawn, which is announced that it's going to be on Game Pass whenever it decides to come out. It was meant to come out later this year. Sorry, it was meant to come out earlier this year. It was meant to come out in, like, spring? February, March stage, and then it was delayed into mid-2023, and now it is being delayed out to just 2024. So lots and lots of delaying going on with that. We want to update our fans on the development, yada yada yada, to make Flintlock the absolute best experience, yada yada yada, we're delaying it. Look, it's fine. I just announced a bunch of, I didn't announce them. Nintendo just announced a bunch of games all by themselves, and then there was Summer Games Fest the week previously. There's tons of fucking games coming out. It is fine for this to be delayed a little bit. Even a little bit. Cool, take your time. No problem. Speaking of delays, Immortals of Avium's also been delayed. We owe it to ourselves and to you to get this right. You owe it to yourselves, sure. I don't think you owe it to me, exactly. Anyway, supposed to be coming out end of last month. End of next month. But has now been pushed to the month after. So it's going to be coming out in August instead, August 22nd. It's effectively exactly a month. Effectively exactly, yep, English. It's more or less a month. Delay. What are they going to do with a single month? There's not really a whole lot that they could make different. What this says to me is there was a certification issue. That's typically what you get when it's just like a month or a couple of weeks delay or a single week delay, stuff like that. Usually there's an issue with certification. Certification is when you submit the game to platform holders, be PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, whoever it is, and they have to verify that the game works. And they do a couple of different tests, like it doesn't crash, it boots up, it's playable from start to end, as much as possible. You know, they do all that. That takes a little bit of time. You know, it's not like an instant return kind of thing like you get on, we'll say, the mobile app stores. They tend to have almost an instant verification process. That's not true, actually. It's really only Google that has that kind of thing. And really, it's only Google does that in that they verify it and then they start checking, which is kind of a weird way to get around it, but here we are. The point is, it's usually faster because mobile apps typically aren't as big as video games, but that's what it says to me. Yeah, they could use a bit of time to polish it and maybe get it into a patch. But I would say, yeah, there was probably some shenanigans in certification. On the other hand, yeah, they could genuinely want an extra month to polish it up a little bit. Even then, unless it's a completely digital-only game, the game has been pressed to CD by now, or to Blu-ray, whatever. Or it would have wanted to be. I'm pretty sure it went gold. Pretty sure there was a story that it went gold. Anyway. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe I'm thinking of a different game. Moving on. The free Epic game this week is The Hunter Call of the Wild. It's a hunting sim. First person. Kill defenseless animals. Cool. Moving on. I mean, imagine you probably fight like predators. Or hunt predators as well. But, I mean, the front cover is a deer. And bears. Well, bears are predators, I suppose. Are bears predators? They're omnivores, right? Or herbivores? Fuck. Are bears herbivores? No, they mustn't be. They're omnivores. They'll fucking eat anything. The point is, if you don't need to hunt the thing, don't fucking hunt. Who's going out there hunting for bear meat, you know? Anyway. Moving on. Game Pass. Game Pass is getting a refresher, so it's the mid-month refresher for Xbox Game Pass in June 2023. Sorry, Xbox and PC. So added this month, we have Bramble the Mountain King. Bramble the Mountain King is like Little Nightmares. It's a almost stop-motion like, almost like puppet-like characters in a horror scenario that is using a lot of Scandinavian folklore. It looks pretty good. I've been meaning to play it myself. I just haven't gotten around to putting it on schedule. Fist, forged in something something. I think it's the name of the city. Forged in Shadow Torch, I think is what it's called. I'm trying to read the subtitles there. Fist is I think it's a Metroidvania, but it's like a side-scrolling melee brawler type thing. You play this rabbit with one giant hand. He only does arm day and only with that hand. That's his jerking off hand, I guess. Anyway, you hit things really hard. There's some combos. It looks fun. Again, similarly, I've been meaning to play it, but I haven't got around to it. Need for Speed Unbound racing game. I believe this is considered actually a pretty good racing game. I do not follow racing games at all. I have no real idea, but I think I remember people saying, yeah, this one's pretty good. So maybe give it a shot. I think this is one of the Need for Speeds that's more of an arcade racer than the ones that are like avoid the police, open world map type things. Arcade Paradise is kind of an arcade sim game where you are given control of a laundromat at the beginning, and you sort of use that to sort of stealthily turn it into an arcade. You start by like using the back room, and you have one machine, and then you start buying up. You get some more machines, and then you buy some real estate nearby. You knock through the wall, make the arcade a little bit bigger, and gradually you turn the laundromat into an arcade kind of thing. It's got a real like 80s synth vibe to it. Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town. I don't think that's the remake one. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's the remake. Anyway, Story of Seasons, as I said, I think it's Harvest Moon. I think Harvest Moon is the original name of this series, and then the Harvest Moon series has gone off because it was bought up by a bunch of capitalist shitheads and it's been turned into kind of Drek. And the original Harvest Moon dev team moved over to make Story of Seasons, so that's kind of the real continuation. Anyway, it's kind of Stardew Valley type thing. Sword and Fairy is a action RPG, I think. Sword and Fairy enter around that blends ancient mythology and traditional Asian aesthetics. You can command a memorable party of characters, each unique personality. It does not tell you if it's an action RPG or a turn-based RPG, but it is very much an Eastern RPG. I was going to say JRPG, but I'm not actually sure if the developer's Japanese. I think it might be Korean. Anyway, that's that. And then The Bookwalker was announced during Summer Game Fest and then had its release date just be like next week kind of thing. And it's actually this week now. So it's launching directly into Game Pass, or has launched already. I believe it's already available. The trailer looked interesting, but the trailer was entirely CG. Like, there's no gameplay in it, so I actually don't know what kind of game it is. I think it's like an isometric narrative type thing. So like, I'm going to say it, but I don't really mean it. Disco Elysium. I just mean from that kind of viewpoint, really. You talk to people, you kind of help them out, you do quests. There is some kind of tactical combat situation as well, but from reviews I've seen, that's kind of the weakest part of the game. The strongest part of the game is just getting to know characters and helping to solve their problems. The idea is you are a writer with writer's block, and to sort of break your writer's block, you literally jump into works of fiction to maybe like jumpstart your creativity or whatever, and you jump into like well-known titles. Those well-known titles are not mentioned, so I don't know what they are, but apparently they're like, public IP available stories that you can jump into. Alice in Wonderland, Charles Dickens stuff, Sherlock Holmes now is technically public. That kind of thing. Anyway, those are some of the games coming up soon, but what if you wanted to play something right now? Well, you could play, and we did play, Final Fantasy XVI. Out on Thursday. We started playing it on Friday. I was going to make it just like a one-off as part of Foley Plays Games a Bit, and then we'd come back to it as part of my Final Fantasy series playthrough, but it's really good. So no, it's gonna be a full Let's Play. I'm just gonna keep playing it. I had a lot of fun playing it on Friday. The Devil May Cry-ness is certainly unavoidable. It's definitely there. There are a lot of accessibility elements there if you are not used to the kind of action gameplay of something like Devil May Cry. It is nowhere near as difficult as Devil May Cry. I'll just put it that way. At least right now, I believe from a lot of people I've heard from anyway, the opening of the game is pretty easy. Or not easy, but not particularly taxing for combat. But later on in the game, once you get more abilities, enemies become more difficult and so on, it starts to become a bit more taxing on the player. We'll see how it turns out. But yeah, we're gonna play through it. We're gonna play through the whole thing. Moving on, also out this week is C Smash VRS, or C Smash Versus, if you prefer. This is a remake of an old Sega squash game, like the racket game, squash, only remade for VR. And again, it's going to be mostly PvP. And it's a weird way to put it when sports games are PvP, but there we are. Which means I'll probably never play it, but I do like its aesthetic. You know, it has got this kind of retro-futuristic cassette tech feel to it. Anyway, it's out now. You can play it if you want, if you have a PSVR 2. I think it is also on various Steam PCs, Steam VR, sorry, PC VR platforms as well. Anyway, unfortunately though, it is now time to talk about the worst parts of video games, the video game industry. So, we have some news from the Microsoft versus FTC hearing. So, last week we mentioned that the FTC had won a temporary restraining order on Microsoft and Activision going through with their merger. The issue the FTC had was that Microsoft and Activision would just do the merger anyway before the FTC could have their hearing. The deadline for the merger is some stage in July. FTC wasn't going to have their hearing until August at some point, so the concern FTC had was that they'd just go through with the merger anyway, and then just eat a fine, basically. And the FTC don't want that. They want, like, concessions made, or just stop the merger entirely. So, the hearings have kicked off. They'll be a couple of days long. They're going to probably spill over into next week as well. So we don't know quite everything just yet. The FTC has already regarded its restraining order, is now pushing for a preliminary injunction, which again will prevent the merger from happening until the FTC can have their hearing. That's kind of what this whole thing is about. Basically, the court has to decide if the FTC have merit, if their concerns are worth the injunction, basically. And if they're not, that kind of it's going to make it difficult for them to go ahead with their hearing. If the court has already decided that it's not really, you don't really have anything here. Anyway, the FTC are arguing that Microsoft's ownership of Activision Blizzard will impact competition. The FTC expects Microsoft to make Call of Duty and other Activision products exclusive to Xbox. FTC say, you know, you have priors doing that. Microsoft, on the other hand, have said they've already agreed to keep Call of Duty on other platforms. They've argued that the deal is about bringing more players to more devices. Citation needed when you make Starfield and Redfall and Avowed and so on all exclusives. How you're bringing more players to more devices? Question mark? How are you doing that anyway? For Microsoft's part, they said, and this is new, the acquisition was actually more about getting King. So you may not know, because we usually just shorten it to Activision Blizzard, but the full name of the company is Activision Blizzard King. The King part is the mobile games division. King are responsible for Candy Crush, which I'm sure you know that name. And that is kind of what Microsoft wanted. Microsoft were in talks to acquire Zynga, also a big mobile games publisher, before Take-Two bought them. So it seems Microsoft is at least trying to get into the mobile games market. They do have some history of doing it. And allegedly this is why they were looking to acquire Activision Blizzard King. Not for Call of Duty, not for Diablo, Overwatch, Warcraft, none of those. They want King. They want the Candy Crush money. Okay, and just getting Activision is just a bonus, I guess. Vice President Sarah Bond for Xbox testified that Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick demanded special treatment. I'm fucking shocked, Bobby. I really am. The special treatment was that they wanted a bigger share of revenue for keeping Call of Duty on Xbox. So the deal was, typically it's a 70-30 split. The publisher gets 70 and Xbox gets 30. That is the usual platform split. I believe Sony have pretty much the exact same thing. Almost all of them have the exact same split. Activision wanted 80-20. And Microsoft went ahead with it because we believe it was critical to get that content for their players. So Bobby, of course, wants money. I'm shocked, honestly, but I'm not. You're not either. Anyway, Xbox was working on a dedicated version of Xbox Cloud Gaming, but has instead has decided that operational costs were too high and has instead decided to go into partnerships with people. This kind of speaks towards the CMA, which is the UK regulatory body, who are currently trying to say that the Microsoft Activision merger would cause too much of a monopoly in cloud gaming. This is Xbox saying that we don't even own a cloud gaming platform. We tried to, but we found this is way too expensive, so we're just going to partner with people. It's possible they'll use that as an argument. On the other hand, it doesn't preclude them from making their own cloud gaming platform down the line. An email from PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan stated that the exec was initially unconcerned by the proposed acquisition. He believed that it was not an exclusivity play. Microsoft was thinking bigger, maybe possibly pointing to Xbox Game Pass, pointing to the mobile games acquisition parts and stuff like that. Jim Ryan added that he was pretty sure we will continue to see COD on PlayStation for many years to come, and that we will be okay. We will be more than okay. Which is very different to what he's been saying publicly. Publicly, he's been saying Microsoft are going to keep COD off PlayStation, or if they're going to put it on PlayStation, they're going to make it worse, deliberately. So yeah, which one is true? Which one does he mean? When did he change his mind? Why did he change his mind? Hopefully we'll find out in the next couple of days, because he has been called to testify. Also kind of slipped in there was, when is the expected starting period for the next generation of consoles? So ostensibly the PlayStation 6, or whatever the fuck Xbox decides to call their next thing. 2028, makes sense. 8 years, that's pretty much the typical life cycle. It has been more or less 8 years between most consoles. The possible exception of PS3 to PS4, I think, was a little bit longer. Jim Ryan also stated that Sony would not be able to share details about the next PlayStation console with a Microsoft-controlled Activision. It believed Activision would not be incentivized to use device features that were not also available on the Xbox. So this kind of using the PlayStation's exclusive features, like we'll say on the PS5, adaptive triggers, haptic feedback, that kind of thing. A Microsoft-owned Activision would not be incentivized to, actually use them, because Daddy Warbucks Microsoft said no, which it has done already. So it has there's something there, all right. Talking about the new console's specs ahead of time would also give Microsoft that knowledge that perhaps Sony doesn't want them to have for competitive reasons. So obviously not being able to share that with Activision, who would, again, trying to be third party if Microsoft agrees that Call of Duty is supposed to be a third party game. How can Sony share that information with them and be confident that they're not going to share that and use that information to make the next Xbox better or whatever? Yeah, there's an issue there, all right. The FTC pointed out that the 10-year deals Microsoft has been mentioning about, Nvidia, we have a 10-year deal with them, and Nintendo, we have a 10-year deal with them, and so on and so forth, is filled with loopholes and speculative commitments. Some of those loopholes, Microsoft can just unilaterally renegotiate the contract just whenever they want, which means it's not exactly ironclad, which, as I said previously, business deals that are not really worth anything, what have you. Microsoft itself admitted that Xbox has lost the console wars, and that it has been routinely last place between PlayStation and Nintendo pretty much since Xbox One. So since the PS4 and the Switch, more or less. Talking about exclusivity, there was an original agreement between ZeniMax and Disney that the upcoming Indiana Jones game would be a multi-platform title, but once Microsoft bought out Bethesda, that changed. It's now exclusive to Xbox platforms, which helps the FTC's position that Microsoft will make things exclusive, even though it said it wasn't going to be. It's going to override previous existing business plans to make things exclusive. The FTC pointed to ZeniMax exclusive on Xbox platforms as powerful evidence that Microsoft's assurances of multi-platform Call of Duty cannot be trusted. Again, Redfall was going to be a PlayStation game as well, but it wasn't. Once after Microsoft bought ZeniMax, they got control of Arcane and they shut down the PlayStation version of Redfall. Now, we dodged a bullet. I say we. I'm not PlayStation. I own a PlayStation. I don't know. Getting the fanboy thing out of my head is sometimes difficult. The point is, Microsoft shut down what was going to be a third-party game. Similarly, Sony were in talks for Starfield to get either timed exclusivity or full-on exclusivity with Starfield. But once Microsoft bought Bethesda, that whole just negotiation shut down immediately. So they have prior, is the issue. Matt Booty, who continues to have a funny name but terrible takes, says there's no fucking way Microsoft should bring its titles to rival platforms and services. Matt Booty, you may remember, is head of Xbox Game Studios. The guy in charge of the games bit says we shouldn't bring our games to rival platforms and services. Yeah, that's not a good look for your whole third party. We're definitely not going to make things exclusive. Wink, wink. Position. Allegedly, he now says Microsoft's strategy has since changed. Citation needed. Continuing, Booty also said the FTC. Matt Booty said that we would have to make some adjustments to the Call of Duty that comes to Nintendo Switch. Remember, they were saying that it would have feature parity, would be, equivalent to the one on Xbox and so on. This again was to sort of point out that yes, we would continue to support third parties. The FTC argues that these material changes are effectively a brand new version of the game, and as such is not feature parity, etc., etc. The FTC, however, also suggested it did not want the Switch to be included in its definition of the console market. So it doesn't want it to be included as this sort of competitiveness in, supporting third parties. It wants it specifically to focus on equivalent consoles, equivalent to the Xbox Series X and S and so on, which the Switch is not. More will come. These are all sort of bullet points. There's various different articles across different publications that have gone into a bit more detail. As I said, this hearing is ongoing, so more probably next week. We'll know about it. Anyway, sticking with Activision, Diablo 4 seasons require a new character, and it is splitting opinions. So Diablo seasons started with Diablo 3. It was a kind of seasonal thing. They would drop this sort of event, and you would have to make a brand new character and work your way through the event with that character. And once the event was over, you could transition that character into the main game. This continued with Diablo 2 Resurrected, the Diablo remaster. Diablo 2 remaster. So what's pissing off people about this is, one, it was never mentioned that you'd need a new character. Now, you could argue that we did this with the other two games. Why wouldn't you think it was? The other issue is that Battle Pass, basically, is that the other two games didn't have a Battle Pass. There is a Battle Pass now, because of course, people want the Battle Pass to apply to their character that they've put a whole lot of time into. They would rather the stuff apply to them, rather than some new character that is just made for this Battle Pass and then probably discarded afterwards. Because again, once the next Battle Pass comes out, you gotta make a new character. So there's some conflict there. To take part in the seasonal Quest 9 mechanics, season journey, and Battle Pass, you will need to create a new seasonal character. Playing campaign with seasonal character, if you so desire or need to finish, will also progress the season journey and Battle Pass. So you can use them to play in the story, but also why would you if you're just going to discard them later for the next Battle Pass thing? So some choice quotes from some people in the community. I don't see myself grinding like this again. Not everyone has the will or desire to grind endlessly. So another issue is that XP was quite generous in Diablo 3. I haven't played Diablo 2, so I can't say for certain, but Diablo 3, absolutely. Easy. You were Paragon almost before the end of the game. There was no question of, like, the grind. There was no grind, really. You just play the game, because it was so generous with XP. Diablo 4 is not generous with XP. Very much not. It is a huge game, and the XP is stingy. Extremely so stingy that a lot of players are just replaying the one dungeon that gives you a bit more XP than the others. And not even by much. But they're just grinding out that. And of course, Blizzard's response to that was to nerf that dungeon. Not boost all the other dungeons. No, nerf that one. Anyway, that's kind of where the conflict is coming from, is that one, you'll have to remake a new character. The stuff you earn on the Battle Pass will apply to that character rather than your main character. And lol, your next Battle Pass, you're going to need a new character anyway, so fuck you, I guess. Yeah. Not a great look. It's kind of the Battle Pass is really the issue. If the Battle Pass wasn't tied to the season, probably wouldn't be a problem. But it is, so that's where the issue is. Moving on, but we're still sticking with Activision. Activision Blizzard shareholders vote against union policy. Everybody look shocked. Get your shocked face on. 65% of votes cast went against the proposal. The proposal was that Activision Blizzard shareholders would adopt a union non-interference policy. So Microsoft allegedly has one of these. On the other hand, Microsoft has no unions, so yes, if they acquire Activision, they will. The idea is you can go about forming a union if you want. We're not going to get in the way. No union busting. No, our union's good for you propaganda kind of thing. We'll just let you do your thing. Activision Blizzard shareholders said, lol, no. This was submitted by the AFL-CIO. The AFL-CIO are an equity index fund, but they also represent some of the unions and were kind of instrumental in getting them set up. So they propose that Activision adopt this non-intervention policy. It's probably not surprising. They want Activision Blizzard to adopt and publicly disclose a policy on its commitment to respect the international human rights of freedom of association and collective bargaining. And 65% of their shareholders went nope. They wanted this to apply to the company's worldwide operations. There'd be a non-interference on employee unionization efforts, and it would forbid management from undermining the rights to unionize, i.e. union busting, that kind of thing. Anyway, they said no. Activision Blizzard itself advised shareholders to vote against it, saying it was unnecessary because we strongly support employee freedom of association. And we have a demonstrated history of good faith collective bargaining. Fundamentally, it would undermine the company's free speech, not the employees' free speech. The company's free speech, of course, because America. Anyway, don't act shocked, but fuck you, Bobby. Anyway, speaking of battle passes, though. Another story, because I probably should swap them around. This segue would have been better. Anyway, Valve is ditching battle passes because nobody fucking buys them. So, future Dota 2 updates will not involve players buying annual paid battle passes. Valve says most players have never even bought a single one. So, Dota 2, one of the most popular games on Steam, was also one of the very, very first games to do the battle pass shit. And then everybody copied them, basically. Is a type of reward system that has become widely used by most free-to-play online games. Fortnite, Rocket League, and now Diablo, and Overwatch, a bunch of them. They all use the Battle Pass, and it's garbage. Everybody hates it. But Valve is ditching them because it sucks up too many resources and nobody buys them. So, Battle Passes typically have, like, cosmetic shit. That means your animators, your riggers, your modelers, 3D artists, and so on are all just working on skins all the time, constantly. That means they're not working on anything else, because they're done, you know, okay, the Battle Pass is out, cool, gotta get ready for your next Battle Pass. And so on. And Valve felt that, this is using up way too many resources. You know, we're not getting out, like, actual, like, gameplay updates because of this. Because the Battle Pass is just siphoning so much developer time. The Battle Pass grew into a massive operation that sucked up nearly all the time, ideas and resources of staff working on the game. Most of the year, Dota 2 had little to no new content until the next big Battle Pass update. And even then, it was mostly cosmetic shit. We took some of the resources that would normally produce Battle Pass content and instead put them towards more speculative updates, including features and content that couldn't fit into a Battle Pass. This is stuff like new arenas and things like that, or new game modes, you know, that wouldn't be part of a Battle Pass because you don't want to split the community like that. We're having to pay for battle modes, basically. So you're gonna want that to be for everybody. But if you don't have time for it because you're busy working on fucking Battle Pass shit, it never gets done. And Valve were like, yeah, no. Most players never bought a Battle Pass or got any rewards from those yearly updates. The community response to New Frontiers, which is this experiment where they decided to basically not do a Battle Pass and just focus on updating the game, has helped us build confidence that working less on cosmetic content for the Battle Pass and more on a variety of exciting updates is the right long-term path for Dota as both a game and a community. No fucking shit. Why has it taken you this long to figure this out? Battle Pass has been like a decade. Yes, as pointed out in Kotaku, that's why I highlighted it. Pointed out by Zach Schwiesen, why did it take Valve this long? Why did it take a decade for Valve to realize this? This should have been obvious from like 2 years in that nobody was buying a Battle Pass. This is the brain rot from people coming over from mobile gaming. You know, making the transition into console gaming and trying to take the same methodology, which is you make the game free, and then the content is then other players. For PvP games, at least, you have the Battle Pass, you have, you know, premium currencies and a shop and so on, and they know most people don't use them. There's only a very small subset of people that either spend a little bit to get one particular thing they liked that looked nice in it or what have you. And then you have the whales, as they call them, which is a fucking terrible name to call a human being, that just buy everything or spend a lot of money. And that's who they're banking on. They're banking on this tiny percentage of the player base to buy these things. And they have the developer team working on content just for a tiny fraction of the player base instead of the whole player base, maybe, instead. That's coming across from the mobile game market. Now, the mobile game market also has this idea of retention for players. And the issue is that most of the time, once you hit the wall of if you want to actually make any progress, you got to pay, people stop playing. And they're relying on new players coming in, the churn, as it's called. You don't really get that in console games, console PC games. You do get it, sure, but it's not to the same extent. At least not in my experience. Now, granted, I don't play a lot of PvP stuff, but I never really got this sense that people pick up service games and then drop them immediately, kind of thing. Mostly because you have to pay for it, because it's not a free game. So they don't really have that issue, so the fact that they're not catering to a sizable chunk, like practically the entire player base, and instead are focusing on whales, like, it makes sense that you would not want to do that. You would not want to put so many resources into it. Just look at it from any standpoint. You know, budgeting $10 on this and $100 on this and $4 million on this thing. Guys, help me balance my budget, you know? There's an issue here. So, kind of hoping that the industry copies Valve a lot. Just look at Half-Life 2, and then look at first-person shooters before Half-Life 2, and then look at first-person shooters after Half-Life 2. And then look at puzzle games before Portal, and then look at puzzle games after Portal. And then look at multiplayer cooperative things before Left 4 Dead, and then look at them after Left 4 Dead, and so on and so forth. There is a lot of copying of Valve. Really hoping this one is one of them. To just let it die. Let the fucking Battle Pass die. It's bad. It's very bad for everybody. Nobody likes it. Even the people who pay for it don't like it. I'm paying for more work. Thanks. I'm paying to grind more. Thank you. Thank you so much. Giving me more grind. I love it. Anyway, moving on. Oops, too far. Oh no, that's the last story. Okay, well, let's leave... We'll leave Final Fantasy to play in the end. We'll get to that other thing later. So, your too long didn't watch recap. The Nintendo Direct showed off a lot of Mario stuff. Super Mario RPG is getting a remake. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is coming out soon. It's kind of weird. I forgot to loop this. Other things. Flintlock and Immortals of Avium have both been delayed. Flintlock by a considerable amount, Immortal of Avium by just a month. Xbox Game Pass has gotten a refresher, some interesting ones there. Story of Seasons game, Bramble the Mountain King, and whatever the Book Thief is. Still don't really know what kind of game that is. New releases, you can see already there. Final Fantasy 16, Sea Smash Versus as well. Your industry bullshit, the Activision FTC hearing is currently ongoing. There's some little gossipy tidbits there. Sony's Jim Ryan was perhaps not as concerned about COD exclusivity as he's been letting on. Xbox itself believes it has lost the console war, or is losing at least. And Bobby Kotick is greedy. Big fucking shock there. Valve is looking to ditch the Battle Pass. Hopefully, other live service games follow suit. Anyway, that was the news for the 19th to the 25th of June, 2023. Well, so what is actually happening on the channel, though? So, on the channel. So here is our roadmap, game mosaic as I call it, for the first half of 2023. So these are all the games I had planned to feature from January to the end of June of 2023. Green symbol means it has been featured. Yellow symbol, it is currently being featured. Grey symbol, it is on its way. Hopefully soon, imminent. The yellow wedge in the top left means it was a full Let's Play. If there's no yellow wedge, it was a one-off video. And if there's no symbol at all, I don't know. Eventually, it'll show up. So you can see there, Final Fantasy 16, Diablo, and Monster Hunter World are all currently being featured. A Way Out should be on that list, but I haven't put it on. I could have sworn I had. Nope. A Way Out should be there. Anyway, so, some news. I am planning to start Final Fantasy series playthrough like I've done for Resident Evil. And I haven't forgotten the Resident Evil one. We'll get back to that soon as well. I just wanted a break because we did a lot of Resident Evil back-to-back. So Phil, our artist, has sent on some storyboards for this kind of fun idea that I had for the opening for the Final Fantasy series. This is only the first half of it. There is a second half that I'm not going to show you yet until it's done, basically. But the idea is, I'm getting ready to like cast some magic and I'm going to throw it at a target. But when I miss the target, what do I hit? That's what you'll find out. You'll find out what I hit by mistake. Anyway, storyboards, just, you know, early days. He's working on it, and we'll see. Once he's ready, we'll get started. Anyway, this week we were playing a lot of Steam Next Fest demos. Steam Next Fest, right now at least, is still going. You have a little bit of time before it's over. The Next Fest is a kind of celebration of games coming soon. So the vast majority of the Next Fest games are games that are not out yet. In fact, I think all of them are games that are not out yet. And there are demos for a lot of them. And we have played a good few of them last couple of streams. In fact, we didn't really do much Let's Playing. Or we didn't continue many Let's Plays this week as we were busy playing a lot of these demos instead. So I wanted to highlight a handful of them. So Luna Abyss, we played on Wednesday. Luna Abyss is a first-person shooter that has this really interesting art style. It's like a black, white, and red. So black and white and then kind of red for the highlights. It's very grim. You seem to be this kind of automaton that is being sent down into the depths of the abyss, I guess. Carrying out various tasks given to you by some kind of overlord or supervisor type role. It has a strong Metroid Prime vibe to it, which is kind of what was interesting. A lot of it has to do with just the kind of how the way the auto target works, how you open doors, and kind of the first person aspect. It has a bit of bullet hell as well. Like you might have saw there, enemy bullets are kind of slow, but they kind of fill a lot of the room, a lot of the environment. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how it plays out going forward. But from the small amount that we got to play on the demo, I was quite intrigued. So I'm looking forward to see more of it. I don't believe it has a release date yet. Or if it does, it's like 2023 eventually at some point. I believe it is also coming to consoles, so I'll probably be playing it on PlayStation. I'm gonna see, does it have a release date? I don't think so. I think it's just this year at some point. Yeah, this is this year at some point. Anyway, that's Luna Abyss. Then we had Little Kitty Big City. Little Kitty Big City is Stray, but maybe without so much of a story, or it's a little bit more of a wholesome story. The idea is you're a cat, juvenile cat, not a kitten, not quite a mature cat yet. You were just lounging in your, favored lounging spot, and you kind of fell down into the city, and now you need to get back. But also you're kind of enamored by a lot of things that are going on in here. And you just do cat things, You swat things off high places, steal food from people, get underfoot and trip people up, and just kind of have fun being a cat. We played that again also on Wednesday. There were some audio issues during the stream, so I have re-recorded it, and I will be putting up like a pre-recorded video that you can check out that doesn't have any of those audio problems. I knew you could climb that shit. Damn it. Okay, you mustn't be allowed to do it in the demo, but I knew you could climb it. It looked way too, like a climbable thing. Little Kitty Big City 2024. Not entirely sure when. But yeah, it's going to be on Switch and PC. Okay, we're going to move right into it. En Garde. En Garde we played on Thursday. En Garde is like, kind of like Zorro, I guess. You play this female duelist. It is very much played as a kind of almost a slapstick comedy, in that you don't kill any of the enemies, you just sort of knock them out, and it's kind of fantastic that they all have this sort of running commentary of what's going on. And if they can manage to keep that going for the whole game, it's going to be hilarious. There was a small bit of frustration when I was playing it in the boss fight, because I'm playing too many games, and the dodge button is different on a lot of games, and I keep pressing the wrong fucking one. Give it a look, anyway. Give a look at the stream, but I'd encourage you to just play the game yourself. Hopefully the demo will stick around after Next Fest, but that's not guaranteed. But yeah, it's just it's funny. Very, very funny. Unexpectedly quite funny. Anyway, that's En Garde. Again, similarly, I think it's this year, but not sure when. And then the last one I wanted to highlight is Fortune's Run. This is a first-person immersive sim shooter type thing. From the trailer, you won't get a whole lot of immersive sim aspects to it, but it does very much play more like a Deus Ex than a shooter type game. So think more like the original System Shock and the original Deus Ex. That's kind of what they're going for. We didn't get to play a lot of it on stream, because we had, again, audio issues that I was trying to fix, some control issues that I hadn't quite figured out. We then played it again on Thursday, where we got to play a little bit more of it. The game does not autosave, which I very much forgot routinely. So yeah, we had to stop. But again, I am planning to do a pre-recorded video for this as well, where, I don't have to forget to save and so on. I believe this is entering early access in September at some point. I really liked it. I really, really liked it. What I'm really hoping for, though, is that the developer can add controller support. Because right now it does not have it. It is keyboard and mouse only, and I am shit at keyboard and mouse. Very much not used to using them. I've never really had a proper gaming PC, so I've always been consoles. hopefully they'll make a controller support for it, please. Please and thank you. Anyway, that was a lot of Steam Next Fest. We did actually play some other games though, so we did continue our Monster Hunter World Let's Play. We are now into the Coral Highlands, for people who know the game. We've played it. We are past the Great Ravine. We fought a bunch of new monsters. We fought Anjanath, Juradoros, Baroth, and a couple of other ones. We will be pausing Monster Hunter World again, because as I said, this Let's Play will be kind of sporadic as I, improve my equipment and armor and so on, and, get ready to fight the next big monsters. So the next monsters we're probably going to fight is that thing, that weird bat thing. We're going to be fighting that next. We're going to be fighting Ligiana, which is this kind of ice dragon looking thing. And then one more that I can't remember the name of. We'll probably have to fight the Rathian at some point too. And then we'll probably be going into Stinktown. Fight Odogaron. It's my favorite monster. That's him there. That thing. We're gonna have to fight that thing as well. I forget what it's called. And Nergigante showed up. Nergigante, my nemesis. Nergigante is kind of the reason I started the stream in the first place. I can't beat him. Every time I've tried, I keep getting beaten. So I'm kind of streaming it and kind of hoping that I'll be able to push through Nergigante, because he's kind of in the way of the DLC, basically. Which I bought, but I have not actually been able to play because I can't fucking beat this asshole. So hopefully that'll happen. He's still quite a while away, though. Still at least 2 or 3 streams before we hit Nergigante. Anyway, that's that. We also... Or rather, sorry, next week, we're going to be continuing Diablo. So Diablo will be playing again on Tuesday. We didn't play it at all last week, even though it was scheduled to do it. There were just too many demos on NextFest, so I kind of dedicated a lot of time to that because it was time sensitive. We will be going back to Diablo on Tuesday. I've decided to stick with the warrior class because they're just a bit tankier. They can just take more damage. And it's just a bit more of an easier game for me. The wizard or sorcerer or whatever it's called in Diablo just died immediately. That's very much for people who already know the game very well. And the rogue, while the bow is really useful, again, once you get swarmed, you're just fucking dead. So yeah, it does seem like warrior is probably best for noobs for Diablo 1. I've never played Diablo 1. I started with Diablo 2. I know Diablo 2 a lot better. Diablo 1 has a lot of quality of life things missing from it. So yeah, anyway, we're going to continue with that. I have played up to where we were last time. We did die, and I hadn't saved, because again, it turns out auto-saving is also a quality of life thing Diablo 1 doesn't have. It's an old fucking game. I should have known better. Here we are. We're going to continue that on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Final Fantasy 16. Continuing. As I said, it was going to be a once-off, but no, I'm having too much fun, so we're going to keep playing it. Yeah, we are up to the hideaway for people who are playing it right now. We have just reached the hideaway and we're about to embark on the next quest from there. It's a very new game. I don't want to get into any spoilers for it. So yeah, that's where we're at. And then on Thursday, we're going to take a look at Dordogne as part of my Foley Plays Games a Bit series. Dordogne, as you can see, is a kind of painterly watercolor art style kind of thing. And it's the art style that's drawn me in, because it just looks very pretty. And I'm really kind of curious how it works as a game. You know, how the 3D modeling works. Because all of these are 3D models. So how they're making that work, you know, how the shader system is working. The story is kind of, you know, twee and wholesome. You're this young woman who's gone back to Dordogne and is reminiscing about the time she spent here with her grandmother. There's a bit of a chill scrapbooking thing going on that side of the game. And then the second side of the game is when you are, you know, time travel back as the child and, you know, the shenanigans you got up to back then. You know, it's a wholesome enough game, but it's really the art style that's kind of more. I just want to see how it looks in movement, in person, in movement, without all of these big cuts side to side. And I think that's it. No, A Way Out. Yes, we're going to be playing a Way Out with Melwyn. Melwyn was traveling last week, and there was hoping that she'd be back in time and we could do part 2 of our Way Out playthrough, but that didn't happen. So we're going to continue that on Saturday, hopefully. I still have to confirm that with her, but we should be doing that. There won't be a stream on Friday because I hopefully will be playing D&D. Anyway, so that is our schedule going forward. Diablo, Tuesday. Final Fantasy 16, Wednesday. Dordon, Thursday. No stream on Friday, maybe. Possible there will be. If there is, it'll probably be more Final Fantasy. And then a Way Out cooperative with Melwen on Saturday. And we'll be right back around to the weekly news recap on Sunday. Right, that is both your news update and your channel update for this week. So, as I said, getting back to Diablo, continue with Final Fantasy 16, and Dordon, that has been in that video, carousel, there. I forget which scene I'm on. I'm pointing at my dick now, but down on the layout underneath me, it's been scrolling through that for a while, so I kind of wanted to take it off that list. How long has this loop been here? Why did none of you tell me? Why did none of you tell me my cable's out? Okay, I can't stop it. It's like a pig's curly tail. Anyway, I'm gonna head off. I probably won't be back later today because there are still some of those Steam Next Fest demos that I would like to record, and I kind of want to do that before they're gone. So yeah, you probably won't see me later today, but I will be back on Tuesday for Diablo. Right. Have a good one, and see you guys when I see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.